You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cricket Podcast, where we would like to express our gratitude to Australia for putting in such an abysmal performance that it meant we could fit in a show this morning before Ross goes on a family outing at 11 o'clock. I'm Jack Hope. I'm joined by Ross Legg. How you doing, Ross? Are you looking forward to your family outing?
Not as much as I've enjoyed the cricket. I woke up this morning and I was just like, do you know what? It's Saturday morning. I'm going to enjoy myself a little bit of Aussie tears, and that's exactly what we got this morning. So I'm buzzing.
Excellent. I'm pleased. I'm pleased to hear that they were really crap, weren't they? They've got no excuse, I don't think. The pitch was fine. India knocked up 400 pretty easy. Ashwin Patel got 80. I mean, he can bat, but like, that's unforgivable. And then they roll over for 90, and only Steve Smith makes it to double digits. It's a shocker. Ross, we didn't get your thoughts yesterday on the show. What have you made of the opening of the BGT, as Britain's Got Talent? Everyone's calling it these days.
I think it's. But my view is that India won before a ball was even bowled. Was mine, and that comes from the mind games that was played about the pitch, the chat about the four spinners being played, all of kind of the Aussie kind of pundits or ex-players going, "Oh, this is going to be a nightmare," etc. And that seeped into the Australian dressing room, and that's where you need someone like a strong-willed character like Justin Langer around, and they obviously got rid of him because they want a players-focused team. And I feel that it's come back to haunt them a little bit here. I think they lacked direction, they lacked a clear plan on how they were actually going to score, and Australia's selection was off from the start as well. So it was full credit to India. They won the Ferguson or Jose Mourinho mind games before it started, and then they asserted their dominance on day one. They batted exactly how they needed to bat, with an incredible performance from their captain Rohit Sharma. And then today they were shell shocked, the Aussies. And the only person who comes out with any credit is Todd Murphy on debut, taking 7 wickets, which is fair play. And then Todders, maybe Steve Smith. Yeah, Todders, nice. And Steve Smith, who managed to improve his batting average in this game. So well done those two.
I mean, it's always a good day when Steve Smith improves his batting average. For Steve Smith, for everyone else, it can be a bit tedious. We're going to do 2 parts on this episode, as we have on recent shows. Thanks to our partnership with Sports Social. Yeah, I nearly forgot that. We've got a few ads in now, which is nice for us. And it means we can split the show up. In part 1, we'll be doing a summary. We'll be doing talking points. We've got Ashwin, we've got Smith. In part 2, we're talking about Manscaped, Ross. So get ready for that. We'll be talking about how Australia can bounce back. And we'll be doing any questions. If you're watching on YouTube, hit like, hit subscribe. We're doing this live, so give us a hello in the comments. You have to be a subscriber to use the comments. So if you're wondering why you can't, that's the answer. So smash that subscribe button and get involved with TCP. Ross, do you want to quickly summarise what happened today? I mean, everyone knows. I mean, like, presumably, there's why are you watching a cricket podcast if you don't know what happened? But what did happen in 20 seconds?
So India obviously on a tidy score overnight, and asserted their dominance. So Jadeja and Akshar both continuing. And Akshar in particular showed that he's adept with the bat, and his selection over he's handy, and his selection over Kuldeep, we kind of said in the preview, yes, he's a good spinner, but his batting kind of tips him over the edge for that selection place, and he really capitalised here with 84. And then Mohammad Shami did what he did to England at Lords, came out with a swashbuckling 37, and it was one of those bits where that the partnership between Jadeja and Akshar and then Shami signalled to me that all the pitch talk was all bluster. It was almost unfounded. Like you've got literally a genuine number 10 who likes chancing his arm, comes out and hits that amount of runs, and the left-handers who they've doctored the pitch, so our Aussie left-handers are going to be in danger. It just wasn't to be. They batted really well, really considerately. They've both had kind of strike rates under 50, and they batted the conditions. They played the actual game, and they did really well. And then it came to the wonderful world of the Australian batting, where I think they thought they were still in Pakistan, was my take on it. There was some shots that Khawaja shot out of the rough. Yes, it spun a little bit sharply, but should you really be playing that shot to Ashwin? And then once Ashwin got his tail up, it was game over. It was a bloodbath for them. And when you've got a supporting cast of Ravi Jadeja, who takes, what I think, is it 7 in the game he's taken? It was, and then Shami cleaning up kind of the tail. It was just one of those. It was a procession. It was an ultimate domination, and Australia are going to do very well to get anything out of this series now. This is a kind of how Australia used to treat England when we were, and probably still treat England to a certain bit when we come to town. First edge, get your foot on the throat and do not take it off. And India have done that.
Yeah, I think it's quite shocking in a way, bearing in mind all the build up to this. Number 1 being number 2 in the world, and how you yourself, Ross, predicted this would be 2-all.
I thought because we had DJ on the show. We had DJ on the show.
It's DJ's fault, is it? It's DJ's fault.
Well, okay. It's funny, isn't it? It's funny said it would be 2-2.
But you weren't the only person. There's quite a lot of people that thought this would be a lot more competitive than it was. Look, there's 3 tests to go. Maybe Australia can bounce back. We'll talk about that later. But it looks early doors like there's a pretty significant golfing class. The other thing is we got to remember here, India won in Australia. Like, we talk about this like it's 2 really evenly matched sides, but actually recent history between these 2 nations would suggest that India are quite a lot better. I mean, so good in fact that they can beat Australia in Australia
with their C team.
Yeah, which basically with some of the players, some players that are never going to play for them again, probably. I don't know if it's their C team.
B team. Then.
At the time. There were a few unknown quantities who've turned out to be pretty good. I mean, I don't think anyone's going to be saying Shubman Gill C team player in the future, are they? Or Siraj, for example. But let's not get diverted. The fact is, India have been whipping Australia for a good number of years now. Like they're definitely the alpha dog in this encounter, and I think maybe we all drank the Kool-Aid from the Australia camp that. This was new and improved Australia. And actually, as soon as you get them out of their conditions and away from the West Indies, it's like, oh no, this is actually quite a flawed team. Like, there's some players that they're really carrying in this lineup. It's, David Warner not good away from home. They don't know, they have such little confidence in the talent of Travis Head that they drop him as soon as they leave Townsville or wherever they depart from, and they bring in Matt Renshaw, who. He's faced 8 balls and scored 2 runs. It's a small sample size, but it wasn't great, was it? I don't think Pete Handscomb's getting in many top orders in the world. Well, maybe he is. Maybe there's a bit of a dearth of batting, but he's not.
I don't like Cricket Club needing new opener this year.
And there's a few injuries with the pace department, which left them a bit depleted there. I don't know how much of a difference that makes, to be honest. Maybe if Hazelwood plays instead of Boland, they have a bit more penetration. Boland bowled well, but he wasn't too threatening. Maybe if Hazelwood plays, they knock 50 runs off the target. That's probably been generous to Hazelwood, to be honest. But I thought first impression for me was like there's a bit of a gap here, and then like you add the fact that there's probably a bit of a gap in skill between the 2 teams. And then you throw in Indian conditions, and not even extreme Indian conditions. I think we'd probably agree. It was a bit of a turner, and Australia, well, they're in a heap. I've seen in the chat that Terry lost money expecting Australia to bat out the day to get to day 4. So I'm sorry. Commiserations to Terry. For I hope it wasn't a big bet. If it was a big bet, I'm not sure it was. Best bet.
Yeah, I've got some magic beans to tell you.
Yeah, exactly. Ross, you've got on one of your talking points Jadeja is a beast. We talked about Jadeja a lot yesterday, but do you want to tell us what you think about him? Finds 25% of his match fee. We did controversies yesterday. We just wanted to get this in. Controversies yesterday, and me and Max were like, there's absolutely nothing wrong with whatever he's put on his finger. I still probably stand by that, but I am surprised that they fined him 25% of his match fee for that, which I don't know. Maybe that suggests there was something more to it than there was, or maybe that's
So
just a really
it's-
stupid decision. I don't know
so
if you've got notes.
I have got notes actually. So I've got actually the official sheet
Oh, right.
on it.
Yeah.
And he's not been fined for putting the substance on his finger. He's been fined for not asking permission. So like in school where you put your hand up to ask a question or go to the toilet.
Yeah.
It's kind of the umpires kind of asserting their dominance like that. So it's just like we've got a small bit of power in life and we're going to use it on this situation. So yeah, it's just nothing more than that. It's not about the substance. It's not about anything like that. It's just about following the regulations of the game, of asking the umpires if you're allowed to do anything.
Oh, okay. So there's very much nothing to see here type thing.
Yeah. It might be blown out of proportion on some Aussie channels, but genuinely,
Good.
if you read through the sheet, it's purely about the umpire permission.
Awesome. A couple of people just hit subscribe, so thank you to them on YouTube.
Yeah, Jack and he's just Raj has pointed out he has got a demerit point as well for that, which
That's
is
very naughty.
He's on the considering Sam. How many did Sam Curran get
He
for
got
celebrating in Bavuma's face?
He got one for that.
Yeah, so you've got that bit. You've got celebrating somebody's face or don't ask the umpire for permission. Same thing.
Anyway, good things about Jadeja. What did you want to say?
Just that he's come back after a significant time out, a significant injury, and he came back like he's never been away. And that is obviously the sign of a great player. And I think being in an Indian side where you do have to adapt to your game. Obviously, it was a little bit lower order when you obviously had Pan and Dhoni and whatever else in the team, but he's really made kind of that middle order his own now, and he's got that calmness about his play, and he can adapt to any conditions. Right, he seems to hit runs in most places that he goes, and he's a real senior figure in this side. And I thought the bounce back from what was a pretty humiliating time for him at CSK with the whole captaincy debacle.
Yeah,
he's back up. He was in a trough, and he's back up to the peak of the mountain, I think. And this is a wonderful series that I hope he makes the most of.
cool. So I think we've done India batting, we've done Jadeja praise. We should probably talk about Australia's batting.
Please, yes, please.
It was. I mean, let's just be fucking clear. It was fucking awful. I don't really know what to make of it. We did think yesterday that it was in the bag for India. We didn't really see. We were joking about 2001 Kolkata and Dravid and Lakshman batting out an entire day and saying maybe Steve Smith and Labuschagne could do that. That was really their only route back into the test. Didn't expect them to go down as meekly as they did. I mean, Australia historically known for fight and determination and a never say die attitude, but
that's what the baggy green means, mate. That's what the baggy green means.
They died pretty quickly, didn't they, Ross? It was. I said pathetic on Twitter. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think so. And this was what comes down to. It didn't look like they had a plan for all the talk about kind of how we've prepared for this and what we're doing. Getting Ashwin in for the Ashwin imitator in. They need their money back from that bloke, as far as I'm concerned. It is. Or Australia, or the batsman didn't face him. Maybe it was only Alex Carey who placed him.
It could have been a mole. India could have been they could have, we've got this Ashwin impersonator. Would you like to use him? And then sent him over and just be rubbish. And he's bowling leggies.
This is exactly how Ashwin bowls. Oh, is it? The video footage isn't saying that, but this is exactly how he bowls.
He's a medium pacer.
But no, I just thought that you've got some elite level players there, and they've let themselves down a little bit. They did not adapt to the conditions. I think David Warner looked like a rabbit in the headlights. I think that Renshaw looked, just out of his depth on this one. And you can't judge a player just on one test match, but we do on this show. He looked dreadful. He looked absolutely dreadful. And I know I'm a horses for courses fan when it comes to certain pits, but Australia haven't travelled to India that recently, right? They've been hiding away in Australia, being like, we're the best team in the world, like America do. Like America do World Series, and it's only the Americans who can actually play it. That's what I got the vibes from Australia on. And when it came to leaving Travis Head out of the lineup, I thought it was a shocker. They've got I know the ICC rankings aren't brilliant, but you've got the 4th rated batsman in Test cricket there. He's in an unbelievable bit of nick. And yeah, he struggled in Asia a little bit, but bringing in, like, parachuting Matt Renshaw in isn't the one for me.
Well, I mean, it didn't work out. I think we talked about this yesterday, and I didn't really mind the decision. Head has been to Sri Lanka recently and was abysmal with the bat, and he was in Pakistan and couldn't play spin there. So I don't think Travis Head makes a difference. I think it's quite conceivable that Travis Head also would have got 2 off 8 balls in this match.
Maybe.
I would also have thought he'll be in for the next test. After what we've seen here, and that'll probably be. I mean, that's sort of symptomatic of a team where it's going wrong in India, isn't it? Like, you're chopping and changing straight away. You don't know who should be playing where. And then the wheels sort of gradually come off. You've got one batter that seems to know what they're doing, and Ashwin's taking 10-fers.
Yeah, and this is the normally. So the sign of Pat Cummins' captaincy throughout has been pretty astute in terms of selection, right? The pick of Boland kind of went really well. Uzi Khawaja coming back into the side, I know it was a bit more forced, but again, the things had almost paid off for them as they were working through these things. And here, they just were a bit too cute for their own good. And I think that did come down, as I said in the opening gambit, the mind games from India were perfect. Absolutely perfect. Going into this, they rattled the Aussies. And for a team who, Pat Cummins talks about, oh yeah, I loved watching Ricky Ponting, I loved watching Mark Waugh growing up, I loved watching that whole entity, and I want to recreate something of that similar ilk. They got mentally disintegrated themselves, and it was absolutely beautiful to see. The batsmen looked like they were coming out scared to play, and that is not what you want.
Me about the batting. Some of this happened really early in the morning. I didn't wake up to watch Akshar Patel and Jadeja score more runs. It's 4 a.m. on a Saturday. I went out and had a glass of wine and a pizza last night. I was going to get a bit of rest. So I catching up on this and watching some of the Aussies bat. What really struck me was how poor their technique was against spin. And I mean this. If you compare how they batted to how pretty much all the Indians do bat, and pretty much how the Indians batted yesterday. So many of the Australians in both innings, but particularly the second innings, were just stuck in the danger zone. Now, if you don't know what that means, in Test match batting, if you're facing spin, basically you want to intercept the ball, less than 1.5 meters after it's bounced. So on the front foot, get right to the pitch of the ball. That's what that means, get to the pitch of the ball. Or you want to intercept the ball more than 3.5 meters after it's bounced. So that's it, you're getting back onto your stumps, you're playing it late. Get to the pitch, play it late. Everyone knows what that means, but you can put a measurement on that based on ball tracking data that we've got and interception points. Everyone's seen that side on Hawkeye, haven't they, where it's like, here's where Joe Root hits the ball and it's 6 inches from his stumps. Like, he's just hitting everything so late. It's more than 3.5 meters after the bounce. It means he's read the ball, he can adapt to it and get into position to play. And I thought India did that really well yesterday. You saw loads and loads of runs just tickled around the corner, played really, really late off both spinners. They weren't scoring really quickly, like you say. They were being patient, and Murphy in particular bowled very well. But India had a plan, and they kept out of that danger zone. So keep that in your head, Ross. 1.5 meters to 3.5 meters. You've got that.
I've got Kenny Loggins danger zone playing in my head from Top Gun. That's what I've got right now.
It's like that. The ball goes into that area, danger zone kicks on. That it plays for 2 meters, and then it's like record scratch cut, and then you can play cricket again. Do you know what the international batting averages for top order players are in the danger zone and out of the danger zone against spin? Give me some numbers here. So in the danger zone, what do you reckon it is? Danger zone.
In the danger, I reckon 22.
No, way lower.
Well, right, okay then. Wow.
14.
Oh, that is
14. Out of the danger zone, what do you reckon it is?
I reckon, high 30s. I reckon like 36, 37.
80.
Wow.
80. That's the formula for playing spin, yeah? And how many, thinking back into this innings, how many of the Aussies were pinned LBW or bowled in that danger zone? They're trying to hit the ball in that gap between 1.5 meters after it's pitched and 3.5 meters after it's pitched. That 2 meter danger zone. I can't do it. Can you do it?
Danger zone.
We're going to get a copy strike for that.
Yeah, we are, aren't we? Yeah, that's pure Kenny Loggins. That. But I agree with you. And what was frustrating is that I was reading through and watching some of the Aussie commentators, and they were just like, "Oh, India are a little bit fortunate with DRS," and I was just like, "Look, you make your own luck sometimes, guys.
Yeah.
Like, you are literally widening the percentage point that you are likely to get out by doing that." And I love the description of the danger zone.
If you go back through, just to go through this once more, I think Khawaja, he's playing a ball out the rough, but he's a left-hander. He has to do that to some extent. It really did kick. I don't hate that dismissal. I don't know, like, what are you supposed to do? He has to play it, because if it goes straight on, he's bowled. And if he just puts his bat there and tries to defend it, he might edge it anyway. Usman
Khawaja is not the one to blame for this collapse. I agree with that.
I don't think was in the danger zone. Warner, danger zone, definitely. Marnus, definitely in the danger zone. Matt Renshaw, danger zone in both innings. Hanscom, where was he?
Dangers. Yeah. He was trying. To be fair, he was trying.
Carey in the danger zone.
So Carey on that one, he came out with a plan to sweep and reverse sweep, and actually was trying to get there. He got embarrassed in the first innings, we dragged onto the stumps from a ball for Ashwin, and then here he was nowhere near it. But I don't mind it
because he was in the danger zone. Anyway, you get the picture. The other thing that I thought was a bit odd, and not really odd, but I think it's a sign of poor technique, is the way that Australia went about defending. And I mean, like, this literally in terms of how they are, and I'm just going to grab my cricket bat here, how they use the face of their bat to try and defend the ball.
This is what you get on the cricket podcast. You get a great chat, and then you're also going to get a nice demonstration with Jack's Woodstock.
So if you, like, this is the face of a cricket bat, and if you're on the podcast, it's 90 degrees, it's perpendicular, put your palm of your hand out. Everything Australia did defensively was just straight down the pitch, full face of the bat. Now, I think in Australia, or in conditions where it doesn't spin that much, or if you're playing against seam bowling, that's probably the textbook way to go about things. You're giving yourself the maximum amount of bat to intercept the ball. The problem is, as soon as you get to a situation where the ball can spin more than the width of half a bat, because remember, you're trying to hit it with the middle, then you are in danger of missing it. Like, either because it goes straight on and you've played for too much turn, or you're bringing your outside edge into play. Where I think you see a lot of the best players of spin, and I think this will probably be the end of part one, because we've got a bit of a diversion here and we've got a break in. Where you see some of the best players of spin is they kind of defend, and I've got the face of my bat up again. They defend with the face of the bat opening or closing in the direction of the spin, and they almost play like when you play like one hand, one bounce, and you're manipulating the ball into the gap to avoid the fielders so that they can't take a one hand, one bounce. The best players of spin are effectively doing that. They're always riding the bounce, manipulating the spin, going with it, steering it somewhere. And Australia just didn't do that. There's just bat, 90 degrees to the ball, straight down the wicket. If it misses the bat, you're out. You've got there's no timing involved, I think is the point I'm making. Like, if you watch Rohit Sharma when he's defending, he is waiting till the ball gets under his eyes, and he's actually almost playing across the line, but he's turned it into a timing shot instead of I need to play down the line of the ball. And I think you combine that with the danger zone, and Australia are all at sea. And if they don't work on that, they're fucked the whole series.
Yeah, well, no, I agree. And you talk about how the batsman can assert some control over the game, and what Australia didn't do was put any pressure on the bowling unit. What Australia did, and Sharma did, he put people off their lines. Jadeja and Akshar did the same, and Australia they were meek, is how I describe them.
They were meek. What can they do about it? Should we talk about that after a little break, Ross? We're up to 23 minutes, so we need to put one in.
Yeah, and we're live, Jack. Remember, cool. We're live.
We are live. So if you are watching live or listening, we've got 600 people, Ross, involved in that. Woo! Watching me waving my Woodstock bat around. Press subscribe, press like. We've had a couple of super chats, so just a quick shout out to Butch and Shubham. Sorry. It was the G in the second name there. I went for Shubman Gill. Maybe it was Shubman Gill with an alias. Asking about Dan Weston. Dan's not in Australia. He's in America. We are in touch with him though. He'll be back on the show in the near future.
Can I just say that Shubham Goyle sounds like what the Brian Lara cricket game would call Shubham Gill.
It does, yeah. Right, quick break.
You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Cricket Podcast. We're going to be talking about Australia and how they can bounce back, India and why they're so good, and how they'll stop Australia bouncing back. We've got some questions, but first, Ross, we need to tell people about Manscaped. On the last show, you suggested that the 13th of February should be International Shave Your Balls Day. Would you like to explain why and how Manscaped can help with that?
Well, I think sometimes when it comes to the day before Valentine's Day, you want to feel ready. Like if you wouldn't go out and just bat the first game of the season without having a net, would you?
Yeah,
that's what you would. You would look after your cricket bat. You would get your new balls. You'd shine them. You'd make sure your kit is cleaned.
Oil.
And a good bit of linseed oil. Maybe exactly. And what you need to be really thinking of is that you want to go out and give your best on Valentine's Day, and the way in which you do that is preparation. Fail to prepare, prepare to fail. And that means using your Manscaped machinery to prepare for your performance on Valentine's Day. So you should go to manscaped.com, use code CricketPod, and get 20% off.
Absolutely right. Manscaped.com, use the code CricketPod. Get yourself 20% off on behalf of us, from us. It's a gift to our listeners. Ross, what can India do to maintain their dominance? Well, I don't think we've talked enough about how good India have been. So what can they do to carry on being good?
Well, I think again they got their selection, I think, spot on. I know I think there's only one question mark around it, and that's KL Rahul for Shubman Gill, who we were talking about just before the break. But even then, KL Rahul probably has the seniority pick at this point in time. Everyone who's been a fan for this show for a long time knows that we're a mixed bag on what we think about KL Rahul across the different formats. Obviously,
it's not a very mixed bag, is it?
Yeah, it's the guy's horrendous through to the guy just loves batting and he's a ball eater. But that's the only question mark I think in this side. I think Siraj and Shami are both with the absence of Bumrah, they are the best available to them, and they are masters of their trade. And Siraj increasingly good. You've got a spin triumvirate who. Yeah, they offer a bit of everything. And what I like about Akshar and Jadeja is although they're both left-handers, they offer something a little bit different. And I think what we found in India is that where you've got a spinning pitch or you've got something there, that regardless of the conditions, actually batting a little bit deeper is a real benefit. Australia didn't have that depth at all. And when Pat Cummins, what is he batting 8 in this side? That's not who you want batting at 8.
I think Cumdog's fine in Australia if you're going to face lots. He's a very good player of seam, but not a very good player of spin, and that was exposed quite clearly. I think another one, danger zone.
They're in the danger zone. And then from a batting point of view, Rohit Sharma is he's almost untouchable in India. And there was question marks over his fitness, etc. He got a century in the ODIs before this. He's got another blistering century here, and they're proper captaincy knocks. That's what they are, and it's great to see. Pujara, Kohli struggled this test. I won't be surprised if they hit a bucket load of runs in the other games. They're not really to worry about in this series. And then the keeper that they've got in KS Bharat, because Pant's out, he's there. You're not expecting loads from him, but he did a good job with the gloves, and sometimes that's all you can ask for.
Okay, let's flip it over. Australia. What can you actually do in a few days to get up off the canvas, do a Tyson Fury?
I reckon they're going to bring. I reckon they'll do a bit of a oh shit and panic change.
Yeah,
well,
okay.
You know how like when England when we went over there last time, we didn't pick. We literally just got completely the wrong end of the stick. I think they're going to react in a similar way. They'll say they won't panic, but I reckon Cameron Green will come back in. Mitchell Starc they'll be hoping that he comes back in. So Boland will be out. Renshaw will be out. I think they might stick with Hanscom if they don't want to pick Travis Head, but I'm kind of in that view that they probably will have to go back to Travis Head.
I think. Well, so hold on.
So Green comes in.
Okay, all right.
Okay,
right,
so
yeah.
Green comes in for Renshaw.
Yes.
Because I'm not. So again, there's question marks over whether Cam Green will bowl. But obviously, Cam Green's a left-hander, if my memory serves me correctly.
No, he's right-handed.
All right. Okay. Oh, we'll have to.
Pretty sure.
We'll have to check that. Check that to VAR, mate.
Maybe you've been watching like one of those dodgy.
Mirrors it.
Yeah, mirror streams. I'm pretty sure he's right. I mean, like now you made me question. Yeah, he's right-handed. He's massive.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah.
Yeah. Well, whatever. So he'll come in for one of
dodgy streams.
Yeah, Renshaw or Hanscom. But I think they'll make 3 changes. Stark will come back in. Green will come back in, and Head will come back in. They will stick with Warner till the bitter end. I think I can't imagine them changing him. But he is another one who is on. He's on the decline as a Test match player.
Yeah, well, especially out of Australia. I wonder if, like in the nets, talking about playing spin. I don't know if you ever heard Peterson talk about the drills he did with Root and Bairstow to improve when they went to India. I think this was the series that Peterson hit that 180 in Mumbai. So it's basically an anecdote for Peterson to talk about how good Peterson was. But whenever he sees bad playing of spin, he brings it up. Basically, it's to bat without your pads on in the nets and to hit everything into the offside. And the theory behind that is that you develop your footwork so that you're always in a position to manipulate the ball into the offside. It's a way of you're forcing your brain to get you out of the danger zone, because you either press forward,
fight or flight.
Yeah, you either press forward. Well, it's not so much fight or flight, but like if you think about it, if you don't want to get hit on the legs by a cricket ball, what's the best way to do that? Is to use your bat. What's the best way to use your bat in that circumstance? Is to either get really far back and inside out the ball. Remember, you're trying to hit everything into the offside, or get really far forward and meet the ball on the bounce. And Peterson said they just did that for hours and hours and hours. He was a pretty good player of spin. Root was a pretty good player of spin. Bairstow a pretty good player of spin as well. Although the last time he was there, he didn't cover himself in glory. He is a pretty good player of spin. I think Peterson got the drill from Dravid, obviously the India coach. So it's a
tried and tested.
If you're going to take tips from somebody, then
the Dravid rubber stamp.
Yeah, well, it's Dravid rubber stamp, and it's helped Peterson and Root and Bairstow, and Root might be the best player of spin in the world at the moment. So I don't know if they can get that, do something like that just to get their brains thinking a little bit differently and a little bit less like they're playing in Australia. They looked so away from home. It was like the really fish out of water stuff, and they haven't got long to turn it round. Lots of people saying 4-0 loading or 4-0. Yeah, you're saying 4-0 very much on the cards in the chat. I can't think. You've suggested some changes there. Maybe Cameron. I think Cameron Green would be an improvement in the middle order. I don't know if Stark makes a difference. I don't think Head makes a difference. I think they're really. The other thing, can they do some kind of dance to try and make Steve Smith get the double 100? Like a rain dance, a run dance for Steve Smith.
A run dance.
Because I think, realistically, for having seen this test and watched them all bat twice, maybe somebody can stick around with him for long enough for Steve Smith to get enough runs by himself to do the business.
Yeah. Look, the way in which you have to compete in India, and we've said this before, that you need to be able to almost come close to laying a glove on Ashwin and Jadeja.
Yeah.
Like as a spin duo, and we've got a number of questions on Twitter saying, are they the best spin combo in the history of Test cricket? And the last time we go back, we're obviously England fans, and the last time we did well over there, we had 2 genuinely quality spinners, right? We had Monty Panesar and Graham Swann. Graham Swann, the best English spin bowler in modern history, and then you've also got Monty Panesar, who at that time who was brilliant, right? Left-hander, and they offered something different, challenged some great batsmen.
Yeah, if Monty Panesar hadn't gone insane, then he would be quite well regarded, I think, as a spinner. But
unfortunately, he's now on GB News, And that is when you turn up with Todders, who let's be fair, has had a really, really good day. But he's coming out going, do you know what? I'm really, really proud of this. But Nathan Lyon is a good player. And I think he's in the top 5 spinners in the world. But here, they're not close to Ashwin and Jadeja. Unfortunately, they're just not. And there was a little bit where the batsmen obviously play a big part in that. And I think the way in which you described it, they're playing with a straight bat, they didn't really have a scoring plan. Is my biggest fear for them. Where was the next run coming from? And it was almost just like, oh no, we'll block some out, and then we'll find the boundary from the bad ball. But there wasn't going to be a bad ball because they weren't putting any pressure on what was going on.
Yeah.
And what is Jadeja famous for? Accuracy. What is Akshar Patel famous for? Accuracy. And what is Ashwin famous for? Being fucking brilliant. And yeah, there was just no way around that. And yeah, it was a demolition job today.
Yeah, right, we're going to do some questions, and then we're going to wrap up El Poderuni. Shubham says, would Australia trading Khawaja for Shami as an opener? Good way to start.
Yeah, I think we'll give Uzi this test series to prove how good he really is. I reckon there's some runs in Uzi yet.
Yeah, I hope so as well. I like Uzi. I think he's quite far from the problem. As I said, I don't really begrudge him the way he was out either. If you get a ball that does that, not the end of the world. He probably could have got a bit further forward. He was a bit on the crease, wasn't he? But yeah, there you go. Blinky says, what would the winning margin have been had the Aussies not been practicing against the Ashwin impersonator?
I reckon they would have been better off not bloody doing it.
Lost by 2 innings. It does. It is quite funny that it was a nice piece of richness to the narrative. That Yash says, have the Australians forgotten how to play spin bowling? They are playing like England pre-Basball. I just think they never knew in the first place.
But it's interesting because Smith is good against spin. Marnus Labuschagne, pretty good against spin. Khawaja has got a good record against spin. And they brought in players in Renshaw and Hanscom, who both, again, are supposedly good against spin. And the team in these conditions is just a little bit more of a different game than playing against spin in Australia.
LSG says, what do you think about the current England team on this pitch against India? What would happen?
I generally thought this pitch was absolutely fine. And in fact, I'm going to go on record to say I think this was a good pitch. For playing in India, I genuinely think this is a good pitch. Australia were well in the game. It was good to bat on. Any pitch that has a 400 scored on it by a team is a good batting deck, as far as I'm concerned.
I probably wouldn't have said good, but I would have said fine. I'm quite happy to watch Test cricket on that all day long. I think the ball's in the game a lot of the time. The batters get on top if they're patient. Value for your runs. Got
an interesting question in the chat from AJ. How does the Kumble/Harbhajan combo compare against Ashwin and Jadeja? Quite like that.
I think Ashwin and Jadeja are a lot better. Okay. And they can both properly bat as well. Harbhajan and Kumble had their moments, but I think even they would concede that Jadeja and Ashwin are a little bit better. Ashwin, what's Ashwin now? He's about 130, 140 wickets behind Kumble for all time.
Yeah.
I think I can't remember how many more innings he'd need to catch up, but it's not that many. Maybe it was 230. So my maths is gone. But Ashwin could conceivably overtake there. Jadeja probably isn't as good a spinner as either, but what he brings with the bat is so good. And the way he dovetails with Ashwin, spinning the ball different directions, slightly different pace, slightly different type of bowler, is really, really, really useful. It's a great partnership, I think, that they have. We'll do one more from Twitter. Thanks for tweeting us in at the Cricket Pod. If you want to get involved. I'm just having a look through what we've got. Now, I think we answered most of them actually, but we've got one more. From Spam. Should India only be allowed to bat once at home, Russ?
No, come on. I do enjoy. I thoroughly do enjoy that because I'm really hoping that sometimes. Why do we not have enough salty Australians in? That's what I'm really
'Cause they're
disappointed
all,
about.
they're probably all in bed, aren't they? Right. Finally, got a couple of questions in from our Patreon, patreon.com/the Cricket Pod. If you want to support the show directly, that's the best way to do it. You can find a link in the chat. That is, good for us, and it really helps. Actually, you know what? I think we've answered most of these. Just going to say that
Okay,
now.
well,
Yeah,
I've just got a super chat from
Cool.
Prince, so thank you, Prince.
and we'll wrap up. Will we wrap up?
Yeah.
40 minutes.
Oh well, yeah. Next test, Jack. What are you thinking? A win inside 3 days?
It could be.
India?
It could be. What we'll do is we'll talk about that properly on Monday, I think, when we do our next show with me, you, and Max. I think all
Sounds
three
great.
of us are in business. We'll be doing that. We'll be talking a little bit about England in New Zealand as well, and the Women's World Cup's obviously underway. And we
Yeah,
wanna-
Viva la Sri Lanka.
yeah, exactly. And we want to make sure we give that a little bit of coverage. Well done, India. Thoroughly deserved, I think. And commiserations, Australia. I hope, for the sake of the series, they bounce back. But my prediction is still 4-0.
Ashton Agar to the rescue.
Bye.